It's been a week, and I've been out of town. I've been away from my base, but I'm feeling really guilty about not having one, taken the camera with me, and two, taken the gimbal. I've already received considerable stress for that. But quite honestly, it was so busy in Jordan, where I've just been on this Land Rover Defender trophy activity, that there wouldn't have been time to do anything sensible, even if I'd done it from the hotel room. And I was exhausted by the end of it. If on close up, and I don't recommend it, you'd think there's some leprosy or something going on. It's because I've been out in the sun quite a bit, so I'm fairly well sunburned. My skin's beginning to dry out. Apart from that, it's been sort of 3 days of more procrastination. One of the things I have decided, though, is that I think we're past the stage of calling it revival of the YouTube channel, because it seems to be reviving. So although the first two videos have been entitled Revival, I'm going to drop the revival element and I'm just going to press on with a title from the content, and we'll take it like that. It's been pretty encouraging, I have to say. Again, a week since I did my first new video, and 150, 200 views from I don't know, a couple of bits of video. There's been subscriptions and all sorts. It's very encouraging, and quite a few nice comments, which is always encouraging. I'd particularly like to draw attention to Andy McCaskill, who commented on the scratchy mic, and he was absolutely correct. What had happened was that I was wearing a black t-shirt in that video, and I'd clipped the mic a little bit high, so it was catching off my beard when I turned round. So he was absolutely correct. He was quite right to point it out, and I won't be doing it again. But that's what it was. I'm certainly not reshooting for scratchy noises. That's just all going to be far too difficult. What else was I going to talk about? Just the catch up and responses and what's been going on and why it's taken so long. I have to pace myself. I think that's what it is. I'd not set any rules at this point. I'd like to think that I'd be able to punch something out at least once a week. Although this week's been, pretty difficult, just with regard to time. And I have a few other busy weeks going up. But I think even if it's a shorter video, it's important probably to be regular, because I think that's what people are going to look for. And my intention had been to build up a little bit of a catalogue so that I could, backslide a little bit and maybe just have something. But then it's never going to be particularly current, and the things that have happened might be a little bit less spontaneous, let's say, because I think spontaneity, along with all the mistakes, is probably what's real, and separates me from artificial intelligence. And I think artificial intelligence has its place, don't get me wrong. I would just like to see a bit more real intelligence going on before we start messing about with artificial intelligence. I appreciate what it's good for, but I'll tell you what, when you sit and watch a video or a piece of YouTube and the artificial intelligence voice comes on and mispronounces words and badly breaks sentences, and adds letters where whoever has actually typed the thing in, or however it works, I don't even know that. You'll have fourth as, in fourth place was, and then the artificial intelligence voice will come along and say, and in four, the place was, just, why? It's just so unnecessary. And I think that at at this stage, certainly for me, it's far better to be a bit more realistic. I've done quite a bit of stuff to camera before, as I may have mentioned, and I'm going to put up a photograph, if I can work out how to do that, to go along with this video, which is a sort of screen grab of my old YouTube channel, which I think probably doesn't operate anymore, although it's got, one of the videos has got 47,000 views or something on it. And I know that if I can move these videos back to this channel, I'll lose all of that. But the other channel was kind of getting dormant and there was nothing much going on. But I mean, there would have been 90 or 100,000 views across maybe 4 driving impression videos. Less so on the sort of cooking things that I'll get on to later, I guess. But it was quite encouraging seeing the number of views and the interest that was taken. But it was very evidently directly linked to the subject matter. So the one that had the most views would have been probably the most interesting car of the whole lot. And it was, it was a video and I didn't do anything particularly clever. It wasn't my car. But it was an opinion. And if I can do nothing else, I can certainly give opinions, as I may have mentioned. What else do we have? I'm going to have a look at my notes because I said I was going to. And yeah, we covered the YouTube revival when dropping that. The casual authority in the picture painting we've already covered, and I was just going to have a look at some of these treble figures on previous videos, driving tips and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to try and do one of these screen grab things that will go on to it. What else has been happening? I've done 2 events in the last week. As I said, I'm just back from Jordan, sunburned. It's too old for creams, isn't it? I think it's 70. We'll find out. We'll see. Maybe somebody will recommend something that will make me look young again and take away all the wrinkles. I don't know. I shouldn't think it'll work. But I was also on an event last week, at the early part of the week just gone, on an electric car. Now, those who know me will know that the electric cars and I don't often get on. And the very first electric car that I drove, which was quite a long time ago, was a fundamentally awful thing. I think everyone is aware now that driving an electric car isn't particularly green. The whole life cost of electric cars is not a green proposition by any stretch of the imagination. And there is still, I think, a lot of range anxiety for some people. That's justifiable if you think that the electric car is going to replace your conventionally powered car, be it petrol or diesel. I don't actually believe that that's the case. I think that there is a place for the electric car in the mix. I think I'd far rather see electric cars doing shopping runs and school runs and going to the post office and that sort of thing, because that has lower impact. But an example, there was a situation not last week, but in a previous experience, where the range was beginning to run uncomfortably low in terms of the battery availability. And it was, well, that's easy, we just go to a charging station and charge it up, which is fine in theory. But then the amount of battery that you use to find the charging station, charge the battery up, a bit and then get back to the point that you left when you thought, I need to get some more charge, effectively consumes everything. So your net gain for over an hour's work and driving is maybe 20%. Whereas pulling into a petrol station, if you're doing a long drive, is 5 minutes work. And, all the anxiety goes. So for short haul stuff, school runs, city stuff, banging about in town, yeah, great. And the early days of electric vehicles in the UK, for example, were milk floats and parcel delivery vehicles. That worked because they're all short haul. And then in the case of milk floats, they're only out for 4 hours in the morning. And then they sit on a slow charge for the rest of the day, and then get used again the next morning, and not covering huge distances. So there is a place for it. Parcel deliveries, I think, as well, that sort of thing. But it's not the be all and end all. Having said all of that, thank you very much for the rant. I do think that I'm beginning to like them a bit more, and my blank resistance is beginning to fade slightly. The car that I was in last week was a Zeekr, and whilst I'm not being paid by Zeekr or indeed Land Rover or any other car manufacturer that I happen to mention or that I happen to be working with or for at any particular time, give me your hat, I will wear it. The electric stuff is very good, and those Zeekrs were exceptionally well finished. They're a little bit more expensive than I think some of the other general run-of-the-mill stuff. There's a bit of Volvo background to the organisation. It's a Chinese brand. The quality of the finish and the general feel of the car, its ergonomics are much more like a car. And I think that in a lot of cases, those who've been involved in the design of electric cars have gone, oh, electric cars, that has to be different. And so ergonomically, they're a bit challenged. And the other thing I don't get is that with practically every police force in the world fining people heavily for using their telephones whilst they're driving, and then introducing a whole series of cars with huge screens on them, and you can't do anything else in the car without taking your attention off the road and onto the screen. I think we're kind of making a bit of a mockery of things, and I often wonder if you wouldn't be better just on the phone than finding things. It's not always possible to stop and look for the thing that has the air conditioning, and because there's no haptics in the panel, it's all just, you could be switching 3 or 4 things on or off if you're driving and trying to do that sort of thing. There needs to be some more thought into that process. And I think as battery technology improves and range anxiety is less of a problem and people are less resistant to the whole idea, some of that is going to filter through into switchgear and how things work. And just because it's electric doesn't mean to say it has to work like a television. That's my view of things. But just to go back briefly to the opening sequence. Oh, sorry, did I say my name is Fraser Martin? But you probably got that in the thing, which I'm not going to be pointing at on the screens. And I live in Dubai, and I'm 70, and I've taken this up relatively recently. Just in case you're new here, welcome. But to go back to what we were talking about earlier, or to what I was talking about earlier, I think that the idea of being able to sit down and talk to someone like this, as if we were in a restaurant or having a cup of coffee or something is far better than being stuffed full of AI pictures and AI sound bites and one of only 30 AI voices in the whole world, or at least that's what it seems to me. I know that when I'm sort of flicking through Facebook and or not Facebook or YouTube and looking at the stuff that I want to look at, I'll get flashed with, oh, and by the way, because of your interests, we thought you might like this. And then you go and have a look at it. Within the first 15 seconds, if it's an AI voice or an AI visual, I'm out of there. I'm just not interested at all. If it's a fake voice and fake visuals, it's probably fake news. At least that's what I think. Anyway, I've had enough for one day, and I'm sure you have as well. Thank you very much to those who commented. It's really appreciated, and it's quite heartwarming to think that people would be interested enough to make a comment. I'm delighted to have them. I'm equally delighted to have criticism. There's no such thing as bad press. So if you've got something to say that is a little less complimentary, that's also okay. I will try and answer things. And I think that what I might try and do is answer more of them here in this format rather than on a written comment. We'll see how it goes. But I must get on because it's national holidays tomorrow here in the UAE, Martyrs' Day tomorrow, National Day the day after, and everything's pretty much closed down. The park across the road from my house will be absolutely mobbed tonight. And that reminds me of another thing that really gets on my goat. When I go out for my walk tomorrow morning, I am absolutely certain that that park is going to be so full of plastic bottles and rubbish and discarded fast food containers that it's going to take the guys in there hours to clean it up. Why can't people just take the rubbish home with them? Or put it in one of the bins in the park? If it was me, I would be saying to our local authorities, you want to come into this park? Show me your plastic bag, because you don't get back out of the park until it's filled with the rubbish you've brought in with you. That's it. Rant over. See you next time.